Welcome to Indian Laboratories Forum. Now we are learning about Clause 7.7 of ISO, IEC 17025, 2017. General requirements for the competence of testing and calibration laboratories. Hope you have learned up to Clause 7.6. If not, please refer our previous videos. Clause 7.8, Reporting of Results. General. The results shall be reviewed and authorized prior to release. All the results released from the laboratory should be reviewed for correctness, and authorized prior to release by authorized signatory of the department, or laboratory. The results shall be provided accurately, clearly, unambiguously, and objectively, usually in a report, and shall include all the information agreed with the customer, and necessary for the interpretation of the results, and all information required by the method used. Laboratory should report customer-provided information, and information which is essentially required for interpretation of results, and all the necessary information required by the method used for testing, or calibration. All issued reports shall be retained as technical records. When agreed with the customer, the results may be reported in a simplified way. It can be a customer-provided report format, or report format suggested by the customers. Any information listed in 7.8.2 to 7.8.7 that is not reported to the customer shall be readily available. Common requirements for reports for testing, calibration, or sampling. These requirements are applicable for test reports, calibration reports, and sampling reports. Each report shall include at least the following information, unless the laboratory has valid reasons for not doing so, thereby minimizing any possibility of misunderstanding or misuse. Title, example, test report, calibration certificate, or report of sampling. The name and address of the laboratory where the testing is undertaken. The location of performance of the laboratory activities, including when performed at a customer facility, or at sites away from the laboratory's permanent facilities, or in associated temporary or mobile facilities. If the testing, or calibration is performed at a customer facility, or site away from the permanent laboratory facility, or mobile facility, the location of the same should be mentioned in the test report. Unique identification that all its components are recognized as a portion of a complete report, and a clear identification of the end. It means unique identification for the report, such as report number on each page and statement as end of the report, for clear identification of the end. The name and contact information of the customer. Identification of the method used. The method number, or name, version number, and year of publication, should be mentioned to identify the method used for a specific parameter. A description, unambiguous identification, and, when necessary, the condition of the item, stopwatch equals 2000. Description of the sample, batch number, lot number, or any other identification details of the sample that are unique to that particular sample, and conditions of the sample on receipt. The date of receipt of the test, or calibration item, and the date of sampling, where this is critical to the validity and application of the results. The dates of performance of the laboratory activity, such as the analysis start date, and the analysis completion date. The date of issue of the report. Reference to the sampling plan and sampling method used by the laboratory or other bodies where these are relevant to the validity or application of the results. Details of sampling plan, sampling method used. A statement to the effect that the results relate only to the items tested, calibrated or sampled. It is very important to mention a statement to avoid the misuse of report as results relate only to the items tested, calibrated or sampled. The results with, where appropriate, the units of measurement. Units of measurements are very important for each test parameter results. Additions to, deviations, or exclusions from the method. If any deviations, or additional activities, or exclusions from the method should be mentioned in the report. Identification of the person authorizing the report. Name, designation, signature with date, are required to be available for those who are authorizing to release the reports. Clear identification when results are from external providers, such as subcontracting parameter results. The laboratory shall be responsible for all the information provided in the report, except when information is provided by the customer. Apart from the information provided by customer, laboratory should take the responsibility for the all information provided in the report. Data provided by a customer shall be clearly identified. In addition, a disclaimer shall be put on the report when the information is supplied by the customer and can affect the validity of results. Where the laboratory has not been responsible for the sampling stage, example, the sample has been provided by the customer, it shall state in the report that the results apply to the sample as received. If the laboratory is not involved in the sampling activity, and sample received from customer. In such cases, laboratory should mention the statement in report as results apply to the sample as received. Specific requirements for test reports. In addition to the requirements listed in 7.8.2, common requirements for reports, test reports shall, where necessary for the interpretation of the test results, include the following. Information on specific test conditions, such as environmental conditions. Example, for some testing, it may require to perform the conditioning before testing, and, some tests needed specific temperature, specific humidity, or specific lighting, those details should be provided in the report. Where relevant, a statement of conformity with requirements or specifications. Where relevant, lab has to provide the conformity statement based on obtained results, as per the specification. Where applicable, the measurement uncertainty presented in the same unit as that of the measurand or in a term relative to the measurand when. Measurement uncertainty should be reported in same units of measurement as the results, or relative terms of results, example %. If it is relevant to the validity, or application of the test results. If a customer is instructed to report, or the measurement uncertainty affects conformity to a specification limit. Where appropriate, providing opinions and interpretations based on the obtained results, with technical justification. Additional information that may be required by specific methods, authorities, customers or groups of customers. Where the laboratory is responsible for the sampling activity, test reports shall meet the requirements listed in 7.8.5 reporting sampling, specific requirements, where necessary for the interpretation of test results. Specific requirements for calibration certificates. In addition to the requirements listed in 7.8.2, calibration certificates shall include the following. The measurement uncertainty of the measurement result presented in the same unit as that of the measurand, or in a term relative to the measurand, example, percentage. Reporting of measurement uncertainty in same units or relative term of measurand results. The conditions example, environmental under which the calibrations were made that have an influence on the measurement results. Example, temperature, humidity, etc. A statement identifying how the measurements are metrologically traceable, such as traceability to national or international standards of measurements. Example, National Physical Laboratory, National Institute of Standards and Technology, any other country-specific National Metrological Institute, etc. The results before and after any adjustment or repair, if available. Where relevant, a statement of conformity with requirements or specifications. Where appropriate, opinions and interpretations. Those opinions and interpretations should be based on obtained results, with strong technical justifications. Where the laboratory is responsible for the sampling activity, calibration certificates shall meet the requirements listed in 7.8.5 reporting sampling, specific requirements, where necessary for the interpretation of calibration results. Specific requirements for reporting of sampling activities are defined in the Clause 7.8.5 of the standard. Laboratory has to comply with requirement of specific clause when reporting the sampling activity. A calibration certificate or calibration label shall not contain any recommendation on the calibration interval, except where this has been agreed with the customer. Laboratory should not give calibration due date voluntarily. Laboratory only can report the due dates when those are agreed with customers. Reporting sampling, specific requirements. Where the laboratory is responsible for the sampling activity, in addition to the requirements listed in 7.8.2, common requirements for reports. Reports shall include the following, where necessary for the interpretation of results. The date when the sampling has been performed. Unique identification of the item or material sampled, including the name of the manufacturer, the model or type of designation, and serial numbers, as appropriate. The location of sampling, including any diagrams, sketches, or photographs. Clear details of address of sampling, including any specific diagram or sketches available, or if photograph is taken during the sampling, those photographs. A reference to the sampling plan and sampling method. Details of any environmental conditions during sampling that affect the interpretation of the results. Example, temperature, humidity, etc. Information required to evaluate measurement uncertainty for subsequent testing or calibration. Reporting statements of conformity. When a statement of conformity to a specification or standard is provided, the laboratory shall document the decision rule employed, taking into account the level of risk, such as false accept and false reject, and statistical assumptions associated with the decision rule employed, and apply the decision rule. Laboratory should have technical justification, in consideration of risk levels, for providing the decision rule, for statement of conformity to a specification or standard. The laboratory shall report on the statement of conformity, such that the statement clearly identifies to which product, which parameters results, the statement of conformity applies. Which specifications, which standards, or which parts thereof are met or not met. The decision rule applied, unless it is inherent in the requested specification or standard. Reporting opinions and interpretations. When opinions and interpretations are expressed, the laboratory shall ensure that only personnel authorized for the expression of opinions and interpretations release the respective statement. It means that opinions and interpretations should be provided by only technically competent, authorized person to release the respective statement with technical justification. The laboratory shall document the basis upon which the opinions and interpretations have been made. Lab has to maintain the record on what basis opinions and interpretations are provided. The opinions and interpretations expressed in reports shall be based on the results obtained from the tested or calibrated item and shall be clearly identified as such. When opinions and interpretations are directly communicated by dialogue with the customer, a record of the dialogue, example, email communications, shall be retained as per the laboratory-specific retention policy. Amendments to reports. When an issued report needs to be changed, amended, or reissued, any change of information shall be clearly identified, and, where appropriate, the reason for the change included in the report. When report is amended for any reason for amendment should be clearly mentioned in the report, and changes in the report should be clearly identified. Amendments to a report after issue shall be made only in the form of a further document, or data transfer, which includes the statement amendment to report, serial number, or is otherwise identified, or an equivalent form of wording. When reports are amended report should be further document, or transferring the data from original report to amended report. Amended report should contain statement of amendment to report, serial number, or is otherwise identified, or an equivalent form of wording, which states that this report is amended report of so and so report. Such amendments shall meet all the requirements of this document. When it is necessary to issue a complete new report, this shall be uniquely identified and shall contain a reference to the original that it replaces. Laboratory has to provide the reference to original report in amended report. Takeaway from Clause 7.8. Laboratory should adhere to essential information's requirements in report. Where necessary, statement of conformity should be given with reference to standard or specifications. Decision rule should be mutually agreed with customer before reporting it. Opinions and interpretations should be based on the results obtained from the tested or calibrated item. Sampling information in test report should be given, if laboratory involved in sampling activity. Opinions and interpretations should given only by authorized person based on technical justification. Report should be reviewed properly before authorization to release it. Amendment of report should be done by including any change of information with the reason for the change. Apart from the requirements of Clause 7.8, all the accredited laboratories has to follow the specific accreditation body's requirements for reporting of results and use of accreditation symbols in report. Examples of nonconformances as per Clause 7.8. Laboratory report is not meeting the requirement of Clause 7.8.2 of ISO IEC 17025, 2017. Laboratory has not involved in the sampling of product, and statement results apply to the sample as received is not given in the report. There is no evidence of customer agreement of calibration interval, however laboratory has defined the interval in the calibration certificate of the equipment. Environmental conditions are not mentioned in the calibration certificate. Laboratory is involved in the sampling product, the report of same is not having sampling information. Laboratory has given an opinion and interpretation to customer without proper technical justification. Laboratory is not following accreditation body's requirements for reporting of results. Laboratory has not provided reference to original report in amended report. Hope you enjoyed learning about the requirement of Clause 7.8 of ISO, IEC 17025, 2017 and examples of nonconformances as per Clause 7.8. Please like, subscribe and click on bell icon for regular updates. Thank you. Happy learning!